It starts the July 20th regular select, July 20th, 2022 regular select board meeting. At this time, it is 6:31. Meeting has begun. Present, Bruce Mello, myself, Dr. Maggio, and Josh Loretta, our videographer, and online is our recording clerk, Peter Barris. Welcome, everyone. Hello, Peter. All right, any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 3, review and approve minutes from the July 6, 2022 regular select board meeting. There were 5 pages. Any changes to page 1 of 5? Any changes to page 2 of 5?
Yes. Last paragraph. I believe the number that we authorized to transfer from ARPA was rounded to an even $27,000, if my memory is not failing me. Because I specifically asked, did you want to go with the 27,115? And the reply was, let's round it to 27.
That's true. I remember that.
Right.
That's the only correction on page 2 that I can come up with.
Last sentence should be $27,000. That's correct. We did round it off.
Credit expected for FEMA sites that had been miscategorized as non-compliant. And it actually was Wyndham Regional, Vermont VTrans and Wyndham Regional Commission, as opposed to FEMA.
So cross out FEMA and change it to VTrans and WRC.
I missed a little bit of that in the transmission.
There was a lot of discussion about FEMA, and very appropriately so. There's a lot of concern there, but that particular reference or description to me was regarding VTrans and WRC.
Can you tell me?
Any other items on page 3? I didn't catch that. Any items on page 4?
I'm sorry.
Question.
I'm not catching up with you
Are there
here.
any other concerns or comments from the select board?
Are you able to hear me?
I was unclear as to what the question was that Mr. Mello was asking.
Are you able to hear me?
It says here, Mr. Mello asked whether RFPs would be necessary regarding the paving contractors. There was discussion.
Yeah, doesn't ring a bell.
Testing.
We had the RFPs and advertised in the paper.
No,
we have it on our own file.
That had to do with the electrical.
Hello?
Change the RFP regarding electrical contractors from paving contractors. That makes sense.
Kind of trouble.
Regarding that installation.
Right.
Hello?
All right, any other on page 4? If not, any changes to page 5 on the meeting?
We're having a connection issue, and Peter Barris says that he can't be heard. And I'm not sure if that's because of the Wi-Fi.
I think, hello? Can you hear me?
Barris can hear us.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello,
We cannot
hello?
hear him.
Hello?
Yeah,
Okay, hold on.
that's not on our end. That's on his end. He should be able to unmute his mic.
Are you on?
I'm
He
unmuted.
can't hear us, so
No.
he's going to type in unmute mic.
Testing, testing.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Whatever you did.
All right. You lost me back at FEMA. I didn't know which FEMA reference we were talking about.
Okay, I have that. It's on page 3 or 5. It said, middle of the page, Mr. Noga noted credit expected for FEMA sites that have been miscategorized as non-compliant. It
Got
shouldn't
it.
say FEMA, it should say V-Trans and WRC for Wyndham Regional.
V-Trans and
Okay.
WRC sites,
Correct.
Correct.
okay. And moving on from there, I guess.
And then the next correction is on page 4 of 5, under any other concerns or comments from the select board. Mr. Mello asked whether RFPs would be necessary regarding not paving contractors, but electrical contractors, I should say.
Regarding the electrical contractors.
Correct.
Got it.
Right. Page 4, the other items on page 5 of 5. Hearing none, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the Wednesday, July 6, 2022 regular select board meeting as amended. May I have a second? Seconded by Bruce Mello. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All are in favor, minutes are accepted as amended. We'll make a note that we have Mr. and Mrs. Dutton here as residents. We're just finishing up the agenda setups.
They entered the meeting, Peter, for your purposes at 6:35.
Okay.
All right, next item is to approve the I'd like to make yeah, we have to take a look at the draft of the special meeting from Saturday, July 9th, 2022. So there's one item I know I need to make a correction on since I typed the minutes up. And it's under item 4B. It's Tim, not Tom.
Yeah.
T-I-M, Hart, H-A-R-T-E. And that's whatever his name is. Are there any other changes to the draft minutes from the special meeting on Saturday, July 9th? Yes, Peter. Get your hand up still?
Sorry, I think I hit the wrong button here.
Okay.
So,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
the heart in 4B appears twice, so.
That's why I had to type it because I typed this minutes.
Right.
I do the corrections.
Oh.
Yeah. We didn't call him in for the Saturday.
You're right.
Hey, Mark.
Was there a second?
Now a member of the board.
So they're accepted. Is anyone motion to accept minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from the special meeting on Saturday, July 9th as amended. May I have a second? Seconded by Bruce Mello. All those in favor of accepting the amended minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are accepted as amended. I'll be correcting that. We'll also note that Mr. Mark Bills has come to the meeting. Right on time. All right, so now we're going to the members of the public. We have unscheduled members of the public. Duttons, what can I help you with?
Well, we just like to get to know the select board a bit more, I guess. And I mean, I've lived in Brookline my whole life. That's my father and my grandfather before me, and just think that we should be treated fairly. I know you guys were at a meeting down at our neighbors the other day, and just looking back through your minutes, and we were never contacted about anything about Rick complaining about us.
Well, that's come to the state though. That's not to the town.
No, that's, I mean, you guys were in contact with him. I know you went down there last October and talked to him. And it said that you were going to help him write up a complaint about the neighbors and the spraying. And it said in your minutes from October 4th that you had contacted the farmer applying pesticides. And not once did any one of you talk to Paul or I. I mean, if you have a complaint from a person in Brookline, shouldn't you go to the person that the complaint's about and talk to them before going to the state?
Your neighbor, Rick,
Yes.
did, you know, it wasn't my complaint.
No, I know
I
that.
didn't write the
I
complaint.
know that.
I typed it for him.
Right.
However, the file as far as today's case is closed because you have met and have zero issues with that. And
I understand that. I'm just saying that we'd like to be treated fairly, just like anyone else from town.
Doug Johnstone go down to see you guys.
We've been in contact with Doug Johnstone, yes.
And he said that he took care of that. He took care of communicating that concern.
Right. But I'm just saying, if you went and talked to Rick, right?
He called me as a health officer, but it was
right. But wouldn't you have contacted us and said,
I did speak to Joseph. Joseph came
after the fact, because that was after the fact. That Joseph came in. I mean, I just think if there's a complaint against us and you folks know about it, shouldn't we be notified and say, hey, there's a complaint against you?
The complaint's not through the town.
What you?
It's good. That's the only thing. It wasn't through the town. I have to watch that I don't take on more of, that's my problem. I take on more responsibility for things that I do that I shouldn't do. It's a state complaint.
I understand that. I'm just saying that we would like to know all of you folks. I mean, we don't want to be on bad terms on anyone in town. No, I don't think we should get, but like I said, looking back through your minutes from October 4th meeting, it said that you had talked to the farmer applying pesticides.
I did. I talked to Joseph.
No, but that was after the fact.
Yes, sir.
Paul's the farmer. Paul Joseph is not. I mean, he's an example. And he said he had ran into you somewhere else after October 4th.
Right.
So it was after the fact, whereas you had written that you had contacted us before. So I'm not saying
that I was going to contact you, but you were going to, Doug Johnstone went to your house meeting, you weren't there.
Okay, well that doesn't matter. I mean, that's after the fact. But we just want to make sure that if there's any complaints against us, you guys all know where to contact us. I mean, we're not that hard to get hold of. We walk into the farm stand and we find out us most days. So
now what we found out was that you guys were compliant.
And we always have been. I mean, we've been farming in town for 40 years. And I mean, Paul knows what he's doing. And we have to do the compliance with the state. So just
there was something about outside of my wheelhouse of expertise, of course, to be in the health inspector, but this was from last year. Yeah.
You said October 4th?
October, was it October or even earlier?
It was October.
Yeah, October. So it was back in 2020.
Was it 2020?
Yeah.
Years ago?
Yeah. There was I think I saw months of August and October we contacted Doug Johnstone from the state department. But you Paul had something to say. You haven't spoken yet, or yet.
I had Paul.
Every time there's a complaint, the folks from the Department of Agriculture come see me. We've had 3 years worth of complaints. 2020.
Peter, I think wishes to speak.
We're having to make sure our audio she does our minutes. Peter?
I'm really unable to make any sense of anything. The sound is really terrible.
Is volume a problem?
No, it's capturing the certain loud portions of the sound and skipping syllables. So there's no way to make sense of what people are saying. I got so far that there was a resident with a complaint.
That better?
I'm sorry?
We have
Is that better?
Is what better?
The sound? I shut off the background noise.
Oh, well, we'll have to see. I don't know. I could hear you.
the communications. Technology is wonderful until it doesn't work, and that's a concern. Paul, you want to say something?
Right. I'll speak some because I'm the guy that applies for pesticides. In this case, every bit of the ones at 136 Grassy Brook Road. In order to apply pesticides, we must have a private applicator's license. I have that. We must receive training to get that license. We must have training sessions, certain number of credits yearly. So we had a complaint from the neighbor in 2020. Doug Johnstone came directly to me. He told me that there was no violations. So he said, we're done with it. Then 2021 informed me it really wasn't Doug Johnstone that made the complaint. It was something about the health officer of the town of Brookline. Okay. And then he's so indicated that he assumed that I'd be contacted about this. But just for the record, the public record, I haven't been contacted from the town about this.
That would be me.
Well, I would hope that it's the town, as in all of you. It may be the health officer. Health officer is appointed by the select board, correct?
Health officer is the chairperson of the select board. I'm also the dog warden. I'm also the cemetery commissioner. I'm also, you name it, I'm it. I've got a lot of hats I wear because we're down to 3 members of a 5-member select board. I have a lot on my plate. So I apologize if I did skip something, but I do know that Mr. Johnstone told me that he was in contact with you and that
it's his job to be in contact with farmers that are potentially in violation. Potentially.
I think it had to do with being within 50 feet of a wellhead, but that didn't happen. That's why there was no violation. He did not spray that day.
Thank you for telling me the way it is. That's exactly right.
Correct.
No violation.
Right.
2022. The neighbor there requested that we had a drift test. No violation.
Right.
And for the record, you may have heard this. Those that were at the meeting the other day, or his house there, 146 Grassy Brook Road, is that what it is?
That's the address on the form.
The neighbor seems to be very disappointed that there was no drift.
I understand. Mm-hmm.
So I guess a question I would have for you was, if you were the neighbor of someone that applied pesticides, wouldn't you be happy as could be if it was found that there was no drift? That's sort of the end of my story. All right?
I know where you're coming from, and I understand that there is, I don't think it's necessarily always about that, but I just gave to Wendy the minutes summary on the agenda of that meeting, and the case is closed because I stated in there that there was no violations, and that the resident needs to, if he's concerned about anything, that he needs to hire an arborist to check why his trees are dying. It's not due to herbicide or pesticide, that you've used what we call practice, not good practice.
Accepted agricultural
practices that you, including spraying when there's less wind at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I read up on that. I read all the statistics. I tried to explain to the resident that there's nothing that he can be complaining about at this time. I think there's some other issues that he may have that these were easier to pick on than other issues, but you have that. There's nothing on record. Mr. Snow Guy asked to come because I had 3 or 4 different health officer complaints for different things, and I just can't do it all. So actually tonight I'm asking Stan said he would be my deputy assistant. There's just between rentals and dogs and pesticides and traffic, not pesticides, dogs, traffic, all of this stuff. It's too much for one person. But
so why Wendy and I came here is that if there's a little fire going, let us know about it, and we'll put the fire out. Instead of turning it into a big forest fire.
We don't think he's going to be through. I mean, he's wanting to cause trouble. And like Paul said, if he got the results back and there's no drift whatsoever, then but he was like upset because there wasn't any drift. He wanted there to be a problem. And so we just want you to know that if a problem arises with him again, I mean, we want to know about it. I mean, you should be contacting the.
As far as I'm concerned, this case is completely closed.
Right. What Wendy's saying is there's the opportunity that he could start in again for no reason.
For some other reason.
No
But it
reason.
wouldn't be from the health department.
Would you
But
like
it may be,
another perspective on that to, I think, understand all the parties involved in this? The only way the town could do anything in a situation like this is if it were to condemn the property, and that would mean probably condemning the neighbors as well. And that's a hard thing to do, and in this case, the documentation from the state people said there's no contamination in the water, there's no contamination in the soils.
Right.
So when we went down there the other day, I'm not going to speak for Doc, who's done a wonderful job trying to handle this.
Right.
But it was clear, I'm going to speak for myself, to me, that like you're of the opinion tonight, this is not going to end. I was of that same opinion.
Right.
I am also
looking at the fact that there's documentation who doesn't have a problem.
Right.
So the question in my mind is, and I would assume Doc probably, but without putting words in your mouth is, I get a choice as a person for the town going down there. Is it, do I call every single neighbor to be a witness to that? Or knowing beforehand, based on what I see, there's not a problem.
Right.
So do I deal with that one person and talk with him about it, which we did for over an hour, if not more than that.
Yeah.
And witnessed the badgering that went on between that gentleman and the state people over stating that there's not a problem.
Yeah.
And I said to him, and Dot echoed in as well, is we can't do anything. There's nothing to base a claim on.
Right.
And we also told him that if you want to proceed in this, you need to, if you don't like the water test the state did, get your own. If you don't like the soils test the state did, get your own.
Right.
Because that's the only kind of information, if you were to go further and go to court, it's going to matter.
Yeah.
So we were in a position, we couldn't do anything other than try to bring the flames down and hopefully extinguish them.
Yeah.
So if I've offended you by not telling you there's going to be something going on over here when I know you're busy people.
Right.
Being self-employed is hard. People don't realize the accounting, the planning, all the other stuff that goes with it. I didn't feel that you would really appreciate you coming to something. I already figured what I was going to do, and it wasn't involving you at all.
Yeah.
It's telling this other person, you are not keeping an open mind.
Yeah, well, I don't think we wanted to go to his house. I mean, Paul was already going to be meeting with Doug anyway.
Yeah.
But just if something arises, just wanting you guys to know that you can always contact us. Yes, we're busy, but if it's something that concerns us and the farm, we would like to know about it.
Yeah.
So
it makes kind of you to come in and let us know your feelings. I appreciate that immensely.
Yeah.
But I want you to know, before we went to the house, there were things that were obvious in the paperwork that we saw.
Right.
Regardless of what the state said, the gentleman has a feeling of there's a problem here. We did everything we could. The state people did everything they could to let the reality confront this gentleman.
Yeah.
What he's going to do with that, we do not know.
Right.
And I don't mean to put anyone down here at all, because it's not polite, it's not nice. And I just want you to know that in our own way, we tried to go about this in a manner that would be as less blustery to everybody involved.
Right.
The fact that we didn't, or at least I either of us call you and say, hey, we're having a meeting, I'm not sure what your response would have been.
Yeah.
But if you would have said to me, Stan, you think it's worth it?
Right.
My response would have been, I don't think so. You know, unless you want to see somebody who's basically affronted from every possible direction that he really needs to do these other things if he's going to continue to do what he's doing.
Yeah.
So I think I hope I don't put words in your mouth. That's where we're coming from on that. It's not to insult you or not encourage you.
I have to add that I asked Dan to come because it's difficult. I get talked at. You got talked at.
Yes.
I got talked at and I did not feel comfortable.
Right. No,
So it was more than I could handle.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything official. I guess when it said that the health department got involved, I said that I asked Doug to come and explain to me ahead of time what it was. And then we went and I met with Rick that fall. And I thought everything was done. And then just 2 days, I guess we saw him on Friday. I think on Wednesday, or 2 days before Doug and David from the state came down, Rick sent me a Facebook message saying, Doug's coming down, could you come and interpret this language for me? Because he doesn't understand.
Yeah, his special request.
He doesn't understand the technology, and I was just a science teacher.
And not wanting to offend anybody, if you were to call and say, yeah, I got this issue, you want to come down and talk because I might have to deal with it. It may not be in our provision as a town or town officer.
Right.
But we probably come down and see what's on your mind, what do you want. So again, it's with that frame of thinking that we dealt with that. And it was hopefully to provide a benefit to everybody involved, as opposed to making or affronting anybody by not including. As the next time, the question in my mind is, if someone up on the hill, and Harris Hill has a problem, and they think it's you, from this point forward, I think we'd probably do the same thing and not involve you unless it's an issue where your input is really required. If we know the person is wrong, I mean, you can look at the trees that are bad. There's only his tree, and it's probably an arborist problem, not a contamination problem. And I can clearly see by putting that barrier up, you've gone out of your way to try to be as decent about this as possible.
And that's why I said here the case is closed.
Were the trees exactly that?
I don't know.
They had their own problems anyway.
The elm trees and the compression from building a large shed.
I mean, I don't know you personally, but I know enough of the name Dutton that you're not going to be doing anything that's screwy or anything. So that's not an issue.
Yes, sir.
If you have any other problems related to the farm, years past, it was the Jamaicans going 60 miles per hour by Howard Osgood's back, or something like that. You remember the days that they went home for lunch, and they thought they'd save time by going 60 or 80 miles per hour. Anyways, any one of you, call us up. Don't be afraid of it. We know that doing business in town, we're gonna have problems. Just bring it up to us. Nelson Fontaine talked to me years ago. Corny now talked to me. Joyce Mill talked to me.
Oh my God.
Chris Ballou, we've been here for 40 years. So if there's ever something going on, just, hey, what's going on?
So that's
why we're here. So I want to back up to the state then, because Wendy's pretty busy with the rest of the farm stuff. I'm the miserable rascal that does the spraying, because it requires getting yourself out of bed in the morning early.
Best practice, that's what it's called. Go ahead.
They gave me an A for that. But it is the Agency of Agriculture's job to review these things. So if any other person in town complains, refer them on to the Agency of Agriculture. Your buddy, my friend, Rick, was out there spraying some strawberries 3 weeks ago. Looked up, light on, filming me, right? Still a little bit of darkness out there. Well, I did go in and tell the Jamaicans, become a movie star. But anyways, he sent this to EPA. And then you've got to know too, that the EPA bounces it back to the Vermont Agency of Agriculture for them to investigate. So I would say, Dot, anyone who complains about any more pesticide potential drift, that's what it is, potential, refer to the Agency of Agriculture.
Which is Doug Johnstone.
Well,
Or David, that lawyer.
yeah, he's the lawyer up there. He's Doug's boss.
Right.
Whoever it is, you know, just refer to the Agency of Agriculture. Take it off your hands. That's their job.
Well, that's what I did.
That's their job.
I reached out to them. They weren't sending reports back, and I think that was something that Doug realized that should have done. That was the concern, that none of the test results were timely returned.
Well, they weren't this last time because they had trouble with their equipment, is what they told us.
One other thing, these guys, it's their full-time job to go out and investigate. They go to other farms, they'll see pesticide drift, they know what symptoms to look for. Glossy green, very healthy grapevines.
They're very susceptible to anything.
Yeah, healthy as could be. The vegetation on my side of the fence, beautiful. Vegetation on his side of the fence, it's none of my business what it looks like. Maybe he's not as good of a farmer as I am. Be my guess.
At the time of the inspection, the difference between that was noted. And if what you had sprayed was negative impact to the agricultural aspects of that area, those plants wouldn't have looked as healthy. Both the state people noted that, Dot noted it, I noted it. But talking to the gentleman, it seemed to, not be noted. So I wish you the best of luck on this. You're right, probably it's not gonna.
So if he spots it, give it, pass it on to the
thank you.
agriculture. You don't need to stay here.
No.
Any of you want to be a selectman?
Enjoy the slowly.
Well, thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Great
coming.
Thank you.
I don't need to come to the select board to be aimed at through the over
He
the
even put a
fence.
ladder up. He put a ladder up in one of his trees so he could climb up and take better pictures.
Film me. Someone aiming something at you over the fence. Yeah. Good thing I wouldn't figure happy.
Have a good night. Try to stay cool.
Good night.
Let's do something about the ventilation before we move on.
I need to ask a question about the previous thing. The money that was moved into the highway fund was 27,000 even?
Turn up.
Yes, we rounded it.
He's having a hard time hearing. So does this
Okay.
volume the TV and the
It
computer?
should be picking up through this, but that's what I was.
I'm just
no way to
wondering what
tell
it's set.
on
These are the
this.
volume things, aren't they? Right
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, that I haven't cranked.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Sorry to hear that.
No, that was good, thank you, and I was glad to have in our agenda a summary of that, so I was able to.
That's a very, very wise thing.
So. All right, now we're moving on to new business, Coda and Coda account. 65 ones. Okay, there's a question here about price for regular oil with office payment. We did not have, we found out last year that there was not a particular contract that was signed because it doesn't appear that anybody was worried about the price of oil last year. This year we're being offered to purchase a capped price or capped budget option or a flexi option or a flexi budget option. I had some time to look over this. Thank you, Stan, for photocopying it and sending it out to us to take a look at. And just because it costs us to make up checks, I would just look, if I were to be doing this for myself or for the town, I would just do the capped price option. Let's do discussion on it because there's less checks that look at instead of sending monthly checks, because it costs us money to make a check out.
Whatever is, do you think is better?
Now, Stan, though, you said something about the propane in gowns. There is no propane in this building at all?
No,
I don't think it's taken enough.
no.
Yeah. So
And
I don't know.
propane is with the church,
Okay.
and they don't get 60 gallons a year.
But that might just, it's an estimate.
Oh, okay.
It's not that you're paying for 60, this is, you know, for up to 680 gallons, the cap price would be $4.69 per oil. For propane, for a 60 gallon, for up to 60 gallons, the cap price is $4.30 per propane gallon. That's the cap price, it wouldn't go any higher than that. There was a, so, right now, I guess we're looking if you wanted to have a program or to join up with the program or not.
We don't want to pay over that, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a right answer here. My feeling is that we're darned if we do and darned if we don't. If we pay the fee and choose either the cap price option or the cap budget, we're gonna end up paying
50 cents.
frankly $5.19 a gallon right off the bat, which is good until we use more than 680 gallons, or if we don't use that amount, we're obligated to that. And who knows what gas prices or fuel oil, heating oil prices are gonna be. I mean, you know, they're just now coming down for regular gas to be 470, $474.
Mm-hmm.
And God only knows what winter, what the war over in Europe is gonna do.
Oh, it's so volatile.
You know, it's so volatile that I almost feel that even though it's gonna cost the $5.19 up front, that we might be better off ensuring that at least it never goes beyond the $5.19, which is ridiculous in and of itself, by doing one of the categories.
But it goes down if the price goes down.
Yes,
Yes,
So we're
no
just
higher than five, no higher than, yeah.
We're locking in at that price for a certain amount of gallons.
good point, yeah.
Right.
So,
The only other thing
but you made another really good point, that it's so volatile right now. Who 2 weeks ago would have predicted that price of gas was gonna go down 50 cents a gallon? Riverbend's the cheapest in the entire area, because I was in Bradford and Keys, and they're $4.49. That has nothing to do with anything, but that, you know how things go. At one point, Agway was the cheapest, and then Agway was the most expensive. So it's like you're saying, it's so volatile, and we have no idea. We have no idea what's gonna happen in December. None. So to cap it so that we don't have to pay more probably doesn't hurt. And if the price goes down, we get the benefit of it. But if we don't, and it goes above $5.19 a gallon, we're gonna pay it for it.
And this is not a purchase policy concern because the price is $370 for the contract. We're not talking about purchasing the gas or fuel, paying for anything right now. This is just paying for the contract to cap it.
Mhm.
So what's the pleasure of the board? Shall I sign?
Okay, so basically we're paying $370 for how many gallons? 600, forget the gas. For how many gallons?
680 gallons.
For 680 gallons?
Fuel.
So, well, 680 gallons based on today's market is over $3,000, right?
Yeah, 3189 is what they got,
Okay, I'm not
for
even looking at it.
469,
And we
and I had
were,
another $370 for that, and the total is whatever. I'm sorry.
anybody got some dice? Hey, we got about as much prediction here as who's
So we're
gonna be the
gonna
president of the United States. in 10 years.
Basically, are we gonna buy the insurance for
Yeah.
$370 or not? That's our question.
Okay, and it's at 519 right now, caps. Is that what you said,
It's
519?
pretty much.
It's at $469, but it's gonna cost us approximately 50 cents to keep it capped.
All right. Now, what I'm thinking is, basically, we're talking a little more than 2 tanks of fuel. We don't know it because I have oil. I don't use it anymore, try not to. What I'm thinking is, where are we at with our tank right now? We don't know that.
I don't know that now.
What I'm getting at is if that's our base, if that's our basing on our consumption per year, if that's what they're looking at, and we already have a full tank of oil, we're not going to use 680 gallons. And what I'm thinking is, this is a pretty small building.
So maybe it's more than 50 cents
house,
a gallon.
1,700 square foot, right?
So maybe it'll be more than 50 cents a gallon if we don't buy the 600 X. So do you want to skip the program? We skipped it last year.
Well, last year, not to be devil's advocate, last year wasn't this year. This year's a different situation. We don't,
The other thing is that the midterm election, which we don't know about. Biden's been hitting hard with the oil companies.
oh, he has, he's
But
not, and
what
Saudi
happens if he
Arabia.
loses or I should say, that party loses and another party comes in that has a totally different attitude. You know, we don't know.
No,
We don't.
It's
We can't be told wrong with everything. You wanna get on and see how much is in the furnace? Is that what I think right now?
do what? You gotta get a sandwich we got?
No. We're not gonna get out of here.
It only takes 5 minutes.
Wouldn't we have to get you some dollars yesterday?
Yeah, today's the day after.
Well, he said it's okay. It's $370. So we want to buy the insurance for $370 for the pricing of the fuel oil for the town hall.
Is this from?
Yeah.
It's not their maintenance contract, it's
No,
a
I know.
fuel oil
I know.
protection.
I know.
On the fuel oil from Nidos, I didn't know Nidos would offer.
But we have them because they also will fix our furnace,
Yeah,
guys.
Okay.
Service is a big
That is
deal.
a service contract, so.
Yeah, and Mark, we have to be a little careful here because a couple other things have happened. Now, we fixed the furnace over there, and now we're gonna put heat pumps in there, so they're gonna be consuming less fuel,
Okay.
even though we're gonna have a contract. Not that I wanna mix things up together, but I'm talking about in terms of relationship with Coda, not that they would put all the dots in the order from the way I understand the way they are, who knows? So that's just more to throw into the mix. When I spend, if it were me, I'm looking at me. If it were me and my cap was 680 gallons, it's 3,000. So they're asking for 10% basically for a fee to protect the fuel at $5.19 a gallon. Oh boy. I'm not in the right frame of mind for this because I just want to try to get a screen door today. That's a $30 to $50 screen door. That's $119 now.
Yeah, we don't need to know about.
I'm just saying, things are really out of whack. So, I'm going back to what Stan says, predicting what's gonna happen. I don't know.
I'm gonna vote, I take the posture of paying the fee, the $370.
Yeah, we don't need to vote on it, it's not even $500, it's not purchase policy, it's a minor expense.
Yeah.
So is this something that you would like I can sign and join the CAP plan?
I'll go along with it. I'm reluctant, but I'll go along.
All right, for the record, I will also. For the record, Mr. What's his name? Mr. Barris, the town of Brookline is going to sign a capped price contract with Coda and Coda for fuel oil consumption. It's going to cost the town $370 for the contract. Total price protection fee, $370. So that will be signed and sent in. Okay? All right. Next item on the agenda. RFP discussion purchase policy for the electric needs for the heat pump installation.
This is where I'm at with it. You all can be on it. After thinking about it a lot, I don't think I want to put an RFP out yet. Several reasons. First off, we have a little bit of time because we haven't got the contract back yet from Jim Harlow. So
Yes, we do,
we got it?
everything's back.
Okay, so he's got a check on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna cut to the chase. I'd like the 2 weeks between now and the 3rd of August, because if we cut him a check, he promised us 4 to 6 weeks that we would have the heat pumps, which would make that in August,
September.
probably. Realistically, who knows? It doesn't. I
Assuming
tend to
there's
go
a
around.
backlog of getting the units.
Yeah, we don't know.
That's right.
We don't know. So what I'm driving at is I'd like to make a decision in the next 2 weeks. What I'm looking at is this. I've already called Emmett Larson again, and he's got another issue with Susie's. I'm going to tell you about it in my building commissioner thing. And we're in the process of working out an estimate of a solid estimate of what it's going to cost for his numbers. I would like to at least try to see if I can get 1 or 2 other people.
That's the point of an
That's
RFP,
exactly
Well,
the
I-
point of an RFP.
Well, the RFP didn't work, quite frankly. That RFP, without getting really cursing here, was BS. And
No,
Well,
for the
well,
electrical installation.
I
the
know,
RFP
you
would be
understand what I
based upon
mean.
the
You
number.
understand what I mean, Doc. What I mean is when we put the RFP out for the heat pumps, it was ridiculous. It was amazing anybody could read
In
it,
what way?
because it was done in 4 spots.
Oh, you mean the way that the Brattleboro reformer printed, but by law, we have to put it out.
Oh, that's what you said to me all this time. What you said to me, if I misunderstood, was we could do it 1 of 2 ways. Do it an RFP, or I could get another quote.
If it's less than, if it's.
Less than $7,500,
If it's,
right?
Yeah.
Do I misunderstand?
They need an RFP in both, or direct solicitation. You
Right.
have At least
If
2,
it's
if it's over 7,500.
We have to get an RFP.
yes,
That was what I was pertaining to.
okay,
Was-
following the purchase policy.
I just go for another estimate. If we don't get another estimate, if you wanna put an RFP out on the 3rd of August, we'll put the RFP out on the 3rd of August, for that weekend. But in the meantime, I'd like to scout around and see if
So
I
you
can.
wanna table it?
Yeah, and the reason is because I think that the best way to put this is I wanna keep Emmett Larson honest. I need to feel that I need a second quote. He's I think it's pricey, I don't know if it is, but that's my estimation, in my opinion.
So you
And
can
I want-
table, that's all you have to say on record,
Okay, I'm gonna table it.
okay? So we're gonna table the RFP for the electric needs for the heat pump installation until the next meeting.
You want a consensus, or do you want another comment?
Or any other discussion?
I'm not willing to gamble into the fall, early fall or late fall. When I had my input in, I did it at a time when they were gonna be there before cold started to set in. Because we're not the only customer who wants it in before the cold arrives. It's the time of the year when other people wanna do the very same thing. And then they have to set priorities. And that, depending on who their other customers are and how well their relationship is, how large the job is, puts us in competition with things. I see no disadvantage whatsoever to accomplish a competitive bidding situation and getting numbers we can commit to put us earlier on the list. But I suggest we do it now. Do the
Okay.
RFP now.
All right, let me react to that. Emmett Larson is solid. He's gonna give me a quote. He's talking 2 to 3 weeks out. Now, if you wanna go, what holds up your argument is if we get another person that gives a better price, we wanna be on that list. You follow me? And if we get
We
another
don't even
person,
know what the competitive starting date is, so we can't judge who's gonna start before somebody else. We can judge by price, who gets the best price.
correct.
And hopefully, they'll be able to do it in a comfort level that by ordering it and looking into it, turning to it now, will give us a far better chance of having it completed before
Okay,
the weather sets.
Okay, it doesn't hurt.
I mean, I might be missing something.
No, look, all I'm saying is in terms of Emmett Larson, he's committed to doing it. We are just tying up the numbers. He knew that there was a possibility we'll have to go out for RFP. If it goes out for an RFP, I will tell him, he will know it, he'll have to comply with that. Now, what you're saying is, if we get somebody, let's say one person's $6,500, and the other one's $4,000. Obviously, we're gonna wanna go with the person that's $4,000.
You know that.
But what you're saying is, if we do the RFP now and have it locked in, we won't have to worry about when it's gonna be.
And at the same time, we'll know who's cheaper,
That's true.
what the quality is. Everything is a win-win with doing it as soon as
All right,
possible.
I'm good with it.
We don't have the RFP
we don't have
here to
the
vote on.
RFP.
No, but I think we could easily create one. If
Sure.
Basically taking the bid from the heat pump guy and copying it and saying the installation of blah, 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 blah. And then having a special meeting, is that what you wanna do?
And they're probably gonna have to, if you're not already familiar, look at the facility itself to find out where the lines are now in order to determine the length of the
Well,
items
they'll
and the
have
number of connections, et cetera,
Well, they'll have to come.
Okay, do you wanna have so we're not gonna wait till August 3rd for the RFP?
No,
So-
well, unless someone's gonna sit here and do it now, we have to. But I
Well,
just
so
don't
we're
wanna
special
go,
meeting.
I don't wanna go in, I don't wanna go into the end of August still sitting here deciding. I mean, that's my impression.
Well, if you, well, you
I'd rather
got
do it
a
as
point.
soon as possible,
Well, you've got a
but
point.
not especially.
You got a point because,
Alright, we're gonna have a meeting in 2 weeks.
just a moment, please. You got a point in that if we do an RFP on the 3rd, which doesn't go out until that weekend, we won't open it until the 17th. So we're not notifying that person until the 18th of August. Okay. Okay, so it's not hard to draw it up, it takes about 5 minutes, and if you wanna take it, I don't really want more special meetings, but if we have to do, we have to do.
No, I don't see why I can't do it.
Alright, so we're gonna table the RFP
No,
for
I
the,
would wait till 2 weeks.
So the motion is to have an RFP created and available for the next meeting.
Before.
Regular meeting.
That violates what you're saying.
No, it doesn't.
Sure it does, because you're saying that if we do it on the 3rd, okay, and it's put out that weekend, we don't open that RFP till the 17th.
That's right.
Which is what you're saying is, we're not notifying anybody until almost till the 3rd week in August whether they're gonna get the bid.
Well, I somehow mistook apparently what you said about waiting to even get into an RFP
Okay,
until sometime in later August or early September.
that's what we.
And then you're looking at waiting until an RFP comes in. So I'm totally baffled by what I'm hearing. I don't know what I think.
what my intention was to, cause I was under the original idea, thinking that if it's under $7,500,
We don't have to, but it's best, it's.
okay, but that was the way I understood it.
Right.
So I was thinking, well, I can make a full phone call or two, and I've got I would have a solid quote here from and in fact, we only have,
But if we have, okay,
wait,
we're,
cut me off.
I am gonna cut you off because we're just walking in circles. If we had an RFP, even if we didn't publish it, then person A and person B knows what the job is. And you need to have an RFP if we don't, whether or not we publish
Can you
it.
do the RFP? Do the RFP.
Well, that's what I thought you were gonna do. I would have done it for you unless you asked.
No, I misconstrued what the,
So I'm gonna
What the
table
direction
this,
was.
I will have an RFP for the next meeting to be voted on, and I'll send it out even ahead of time, and you can
Fine.
start passing it around.
and in the meantime, I should have an answer from them. In fact, Kevin's gotta come there this week, which I'll tell them later.
So we're gonna table it for now until the next meeting. Okay. Next one is RFP discussion, purchase policy for major accessories, which are plowing and sanding contract. This is pretty much, I did email it to you all, but it's the same contract that was used in the
Okay.
past, except with the dates that been changed on it.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
And
This was today?
I think I read that online. When did you send that?
I sent it this afternoon.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I sent it this afternoon and I said I will have a hard copy of it. I can make a couple of extra copies for you right now.
It's the same as
It's
one.
the same with the one that we've done before, allowing for a second year,
Okay,
a
which we changed.
second year
Added to it or
to if, but we don't have to accept it, it's
Right.
written there.
I can't remember if there's anything we talked about at the time last year where we sat back and said, gee, next year we gotta remember to put in.
We didn't have one last year because it was the
Oh,
second
it's
year,
the second
2 year
okay.
contract.
So this is the time to do that at all.
Right, and this can wait another month, this can be tabled too because we're early. You wanna table it, we can table it and have a chance to look at it because it is early, it's July.
Yeah,
Usually we do it
You're on
September, but
I'm with you. We got a little too pummeled last
My
night.
guess would be to put it on the next agenda.
sure, we'll
Yeah.
table it for the
So
next
okay,
agenda.
let's do it.
read it, reflect on it.
Okay, alright, so
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
have copies of it,
We
you have
have
copies,
room to handle that.
no problem, it's done.
I'll be, if you'll leave it.
Alright, so we'll table this RFP.
That was the sand too, wasn't it?
Right, and it's also for the sand.
Yeah.
Alright, moving along, next page, discussion about mooring contract. for Brattleboro Meeting House Lawn and Triangle intersection.
I got a question about
Yes,
that.
yes.
Brattleboro Meeting House. Lawn contract, I thought Peter Meyer was kind of person.
Yeah, Peter Meyer, I thought I was gonna, Stan asked to put this on, and Peter Ball, that's his volunteer.
He has been doing it, but in light of the way the lawn looked, I went ahead and did it this past weekend.
Really?
And then I also noticed that somebody else is volunteering to do the triangle. It was for a long time. People who live on Illinois Road, we have a couple of little teachers. Horton. The Hortons were doing it. And then I think they stopped, and I think at one point Guy was doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's still doing it, whether you're doing it. You've been doing it? Okay. So I guess I'm looking at, we've got town properties. Why aren't we just putting them all into one umbrella and have it done so that the individual people, I mean, I don't mind, I have no idea whether Peter is sick, whether his lawnmower broke down, or whether he thought it's better to wait until it's down.
After this speaking with the maybe we should reach out to Peter and ask him if he wants to continue or should he hire someone. Is that something you'd like me to do?
Well,
How many town properties are you considering being over? The meeting house.
since you already did the triangle.
I missed some of the discussion. Triangle, meaning the triangle down aggressive with the road?
Yeah,
Okay. And you're talking about the meeting house, and you weren't happy with what was going on with the grass being cut. There is.
No, that's just a one-time thing, not knowing if there was an issue where Peter was withdrawing from it, not knowing if he was sick, if the tractor broke or whatever. I just thought, since it looked like there was a breach there, I would just fill it for the 2 weeks.
Right.
And then I'm sitting there thinking, well, you know, it's a town property. Why are we asking individuals to contribute their time and effort? Just, it saves money, sort of. But I just thought it would be convenient, and not knowing that, none of us is getting any younger, and
Peter isn't. Just a moment. I would suggest that we put Peter first.
Sure, that's a good idea.
And I think, Peter's always done it. He's sure.
All right, I'll give you a call.
And if he still wants to do it, we want to know if he still isn't. I wouldn't, obviously, you know better. You would mention to him, well, we weren't happy with once, right? And that.
No, that's not.
Myself.
That's not any intent.
No, I know that.
Okay.
And I want to make one thing really abundant. I cannot believe that this might be the first time since I've been doing the church up in Townsend for 5 years. Now I'm going to go 3 weeks without a copy. And I was up there today looking at it. Serious, I don't have to speak to because we haven't got, even though we got 8/10 inch rain the other day, you go out and feel the soil. It's still, Mark, I'm talking to the choir. That's what I'm telling you. We don't have a flood. What I'm getting at is maybe he laxed a little bit because he was letting it grow or didn't feel it.
Yes, you said that.
All right, I'm gonna follow up on it.
David Chan, as an equal member of the select board, if not knowing what your list of items to get done, if you would like me to call Peter, I'd be happy to do it.
All right, I shall delegate.
I'm not going to complain. I want to be part of the solution.
All right. Stan will call Peter Meyer and check with him to see if he would like some assistance in town contracting out that door. Thank you very much. All right, next item is have discussion about acquiring a security camera or 2. I would like the board to allow for consideration to purchase one cellular-based game camera that we would put down at the town shed so that Mark could have access from his phone wherever he is in your travels. You can see what's going on at the township. We've had kids in there doing wheelies, we've had material missing, and so on and so forth. So for a purchase of less than $150, a cellular-based camera, and the brand I checked with a couple of Hunter's friends, you should check online, SkyPoint, SkyPoint, cellular, is one of the best camera systems you can get, and you can get them anywhere between 60 and 100, or you can go up to thousands, I suppose. But the one that I was looking at that had quite a bit of band range and cellular ability is the $147 one. But that I'd like you to look at that, and I'll ask you at the next meeting, and I'd like to.
The choir says, okay.
Great idea.
I think something to try and go to your cell phone, you be more accessing it. If town would pay for it.
Anything that gives him, excuse me, Mark, I don't want to talk about you in the third person, more control over that situation. So for us, $150.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, if I know the topic's come up many times, I wonder about the same down at the site.
I figured let's start trying.
Well, I thought something next.
We'll try to see how it works and see how one works. And then you could set
How
up.
high up does it have to go? Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question though. I recently activated the camera that I had because of something big in my professionals in the garden. You don't need to know this, but when I got online to get the manual, what I found is that for those that were able to be viewed on the cell phone, there was a $5 or $6, between a $4 and $6 charge per month above the cost of the camera to be able to do that. So has this got one of these monthly fees as well?
The SkyPoint gives, I think, 100 notifications per whatever included. But you can up for $10 a month for thousands of limits if you can purchase higher limits. And I thought we could start off small and see what will work. I know with the recycling center, we don't want to, if we caught every single person who used the recycling center, each one would be
Clicked off.
So the township would be a good, it's limited access. You protect the materials that are available.
And that's more of a nuisance rather than that's what it costs.
Yes.
I was thinking, have it there and working, but sometimes it's there with like.
You can turn it on and off on your phone. You can turn it on and off, and I'll share. I'll send you a link of the actual thing. But that would be an expenditure.
Another question.
Yes, sir.
Would it be an idea, I mean, is it a good idea to place the camera where it's visible and able to be tampered with? Or is it a good idea to mask it, put it in between branches, trees, whatever, so that it's not overtly obvious?
Yeah, it is a camouflage, so I like the camouflage of it. To it, and like I said, doesn't have to be on the building and the tree. All right. Good. I think that's a start to some of the things security down here. Next item, I'd like to ask to make an appointment of Stan Noga as the deputy health officer for Brookline, as I mentioned earlier today. It's just, I don't like to go to some of these things alone. But a rental issue that I have to go and do an inspection. I don't like to go alone. I have to do some research down on the drive down on the other directions of the road. I better not be walking around alone. And if that's okay.
Frida won't do it.
Frida won't do it.
I rode by that second area this morning. It's all true, and I don't see it convenient or anything.
I didn't do
If I had, and I was on the price schedule, I would make
Okay, so we move forward.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Stan Noga as the deputy health officer to Brookline. May I have a second? Seconded by Bruce Mello. Any discussion? Thank you, Stan, for all that you have offered to help me in this and the previous case. I appreciate it. All right. All those in favor of appointing Stan Noga as the deputy health officer for Brookline signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passed. I will notify Guy Sienza to add it to our our list on the website. Thank you so much. And I'll see if I can get your health inspector book.
There's an
yeah, there's an annual, and I will talk to you about going up to the rental place. Okay. Next item is the review of email structure. All right, Stan, I'm going to let you tell us what your feelings are, and then I will share with, I don't know if you contact VLTC, and then I'll share with they unless you want me to just tell you what they thought initially.
No.
Okay. I wrote to VLTC. Yeah, I wrote to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns to ask them about email access in case of legal issues that may arise after select board members' departure. And I said, Brookline, each select board member uses their name and Brookline BT at Gmail rather than our personal email addresses. And we were questioned about whether we have to keep these active for 7 years after we get off of the board and such.
God.
And so basically, make a long story short, the best way to handle this is if you could either purchase a domain for us, like VLTC.com or Brookline.com or newthing.com or kind of thing, or you can have an agreement when a selectman or town official gets the Gmail address that they acknowledge that they will not delete their email, but they will allow the password, change the password, and then you have access to it. If you ever had to go to Workpiece.
Excuse me.
So
You're saying that we
you're getting off the select board. Okay, so you're going to be off. You're moving to Florida. So you're going to say, I'm going to say, Bruce, would you please change your email password to Bruce left September 2022.
Okay.
And then that means that I can get in there and I can record that number, that email password, and then they could.
You're saying I can't delete emails now, but why?
Meeting is legal now.
Correct.
Well, it shouldn't be.
Legal.
Oh, legal.
That's town business.
It's town business. Legal
Personal
stuff.
emails.
You shouldn't be using it for personal, right? But you're not supposed
So I
to.
mean, I gotta keep this long list of emails?
Technically,
Yes.
maybe it's 7 years.
No, she said there's no limit on time.
Oh, so it's
She
not
said,
bad.
can't say, she said, if you're trying to decide a time at which emails from past select board members can be deleted, I would recommend keeping them for as long as the subject matter with the longest retention requirement that could conceivably be applicable to select board emails. I do not have an answer as to a time frame though. The board should review the subject matter listed in the BSAR, which I did, and to board emails. So we can't read.
In actuality, you only have one page of emails. Once it goes past a certain page, it goes to where it goes, even if you don't delete it.
If it's something connected to a lot of access. I don't participate in the cloud because I heard that the cloud is penetrated by cyber attacks. So it's not as secure as we think it is. So everything that I do is on my current. And I believe I can go back to whenever I can. And my personal approach is I want to experiment with it, is simply go to where they're hidden. All of the files and import them into one terabyte hard drive and just read it with the tab. Here we go. It may not even need a password because it's not using the software on the computer. But your second option of getting someone to do that process, I think is the easiest way to do it right now.
Right. The third option would be to buy each person their own laptop and return the laptop and leave it down there. School or school. Laptop in town work only, town work only, town work only, and then get done town work and return the laptop. So when I decide not to run again, then I will just give you the password so you guys know what it's email. But we don't have to have a policy LLC, she said, like I said, purchase the domain. I'm not sure if that answers your concerns about it, but you certainly don't have to worry about 2 years, 7 years after. 7 years.
As long as the condition.
Yeah,
Well-
just keeping the account, not closing the account.
So somehow there's going to be an ability to transfer an account from person A to the town for access.
That's what I'm saying.
She said email.
You would change your email password to one that we recommend, and then you would often, I might change it to something else so you can get back into it.
So
It would be recorded.
all the
Yeah.
emails. Okay, if that works, then I think that might be necessary.
Nice, never been done before.
Just remember we can use
Okay, that's why I got my answer.
Why wasn't it done before? Like I said, school boards give you the computers to use.
Well, what I'm saying is I've been on this board in my 9th year. This is the first time it's ever been mentioned. I've been deleting emails for 9 years. No one ever told me not to do it. Give me a court of law, I'll tell you exactly that. Yeah.
Should probably not really believe. Yeah, I wanted to get rid of it.
Well, let him.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Call
if it has to do with-
Christopher Ray and let him waste his time. I don't care who left these links to the emails. What was that?
Never got it.
I think.
Suggestion from the peanut gallery.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, boy, we're gonna get a real legitimate opinion here.
What are other people
Well-
doing?
Well, just that there can be issues about open meeting laws and stuff, depending on how email gets used. And you might want to talk to the IT people at the WCSU or one of the school systems. Generally, they're all on Google, of course, but they have an email account and there is a protocol for naming individual accounts. So mine is pbarris@wyndhamcentralboard.org, for example. And that way, when people come and go, their emails start and stop, but it's all retained as public documents, I think.
That's the domain process. You have to purchase that domain.
Yeah, but domains I think the deal is pretty reasonable.
All right, I'll follow up on that. I'm going to change your email addresses. That's something.
But if you get a hold of Peter Gulrich at the WCSU, he probably knows all about how to do this.
All right, it's good advice.
How do you spell his last name, Peter?
GOLRICK. Or you could just email IT@WyndhamCentralBoard or WyndhamCentral.org.
Thank you.
Let me just look and make sure I know what that is. IT@. Yes, WyndhamCentral.org, one word.
It's something that we need to probably catch up on some of this stuff that we get last week's go on.
It never happened.
They never have.
It does.
It's gonna blow up. Florida.
I'll be in the woods someplace dead.
I'm gonna go move on a little bit further now. Is that all right? Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, old business, review, discuss, and vote updated annual tax rate for 2022-23 for approval. There was a, as I had mentioned, I'm gonna ask for us to concur with the Melissa Brown's number for the veterans education tax. That is the only thing that had fluctuated in the NEMRIC from what we originally voted on. It should be, the veterans education tax rate should be 0.0016. And that is the number that the tax people, you all should have gotten your tax bills this week. That is the number that we should be signing off on. So I am going to make a motion that we sign off on the updated annual tax rate for the town of Brookline, which would include the veterans education tax rate of 0.0016. That's the only thing that changed.
Second.
Seconded by Stan Noble. Further discussion.
Yeah. I mean, real stupid. Those have been set up.
Right, so you're concurring with a finding that Melissa had, that instead of holding off on this and sending out an updated bill,
Okay.
I said, you gotta go with it, because it would have been very expensive for us to do two bills. This was the original number that we voted on last month,
Okay,
and this is the number it should be, and that's the number here, everything else is the same.
and the way it was built out to everybody was.
Is the correct one.
Correct, it's the correct number.
The correct
We
one.
just have to sign it.
We're just gonna sign off.
And if anyone out there in the world is wondering why this happened, it was because Melissa's on top of it. She's really good, she's very thorough. She did a wonderful job. The problem that apparently has affected our town and a lot of other towns is the software that was provided to the towns via NEMRA, New England Municipal Resource Center, had a bug in it. And every time she went to do the tax calculation for the rate, it was giving her a different number. There was a glitch in the software. So it was nothing that was a fault of our people or any other treasurer in the state. It was a software problem that wasn't supporting the staff.
Well, you've also put it in the minutes.
By that, yeah, it's now being,
By what you just said.
yeah. And that was my intent. It was not a mistake by anyone other than Brookline.
All right, moving on then, Putney Fire Department bill related to the May 1st illegal burn by Jamie McCullough. Just wanted to fill you in on that. What we are, I don't have a final answer here, but we're reverting back to town of Brookline's position, and Melissa's helping out with this because she has the connection with Putney with the other town clerks and administrators, is that we do not want to be the bill collector for this bill. We're formally requested that the town of Putney bill the person who cost the fire.
If I remember correctly.
It'll
That
be
Melissa
over.
called. Discussing.
I called Putney and discussed it with them too, but yes.
So that's been resolved.
It's not been resolved on paper, but we're in the process of trying to get the town of Brookline off of this and going directly with the landowner, quote, responsible party.
Good.
So that's what I wanted to do in the first place, and I was told, no, but I think yes. And
I hope that happens.
I hope it happens.
I'll restart.
Well, part of the reason why we waited and anyway till this time, we wouldn't have had any money to pay this bill until after the new year started. So right now, we're not in any rush in collecting it.
So we're not paying.
So we're not in any rush in paying anything, and I'd rather not be involved in the process.
Good.
It's too convoluted.
Okay.
It's something the company does that.
Sorry, I missed much of that. This is about a formal request that the town of Putney deal directly with the landowner?
Is it actually a farm?
The fire department of Putney has billed the town of Brookline for costs they incurred in putting out a illegal burn on May 1st in Putney.
Right.
However,
And the actual fire was in the town of Brookline.
yeah, correct. They were one of the responding companies, and Brookline is resisting being the collector of that fee, and that the person responsible for starting the fire should be directly responsible to Putney Department, Fire Department. And that's our current stand.
So it sounded like that took the form of a request from Brookline to Putney.
Yes, and it's still being worked on, yes.
Oh, okay, thanks.
All right, next item, Southern Vermont telephone equipment install information. They're going to be coming tomorrow, Thursday, to do the installation of the 3 phones. It is possible that some of the extensions that are used that are cordless extensions, that's why I had requested like at least one cordless extension in the office, because if he's going to the photocopy, I'd like to walk around because the phones themselves, have a coil, a wire, you know, they're like, my question is this, Selectman. I could see one of these phones on the town clerk's desk, one of these phones on the lister's desk, and one of these phones in this room.
Well.
We were in here having a meeting and we need to make calls.
Well, I don't know about, I don't know anything about this system, but I know at home, I've got telephone outlets in every room. And so if I'm working in my office basement in Poplar that's in pool, I can take that same phone and go to one of my bedrooms upstairs, plug it in, and it'll work there. So since we only meet for 2 evenings, maybe a total of 6 hours, I'm wondering if we had the wall, it's wall jack capable and hopefully Bluetooth workable so that so Guy can have an earpiece and walk around and talk. Whatever. Okay, so it's a downgraded model. Is just leave one for the treasurer, one for the lister, one or 2 for the town clerk, and 1 for the lister. Or whatever. You know, we're having it's a base unit.
It's a base unit. There's 3 base units. They make up a lot of desk space.
Okay. I know that's so.
And so I was thinking if they put the 3rd one in here, they would just we have to go to the basement and run a wire through the wall.
So it's not so capable.
Part line. He said that when I talked to the Marty, he said that sure you could still keep the regular this guy likes the hands-free unit, but to do the mailboxes, it would have to be a base unit. So should we do 2? Where do you want these phones?
I don't know why we should have 3 in the other room.
I don't know, whatever you got, 1 here and 1 out there and down, where's there, 1 here.
That's what I was thinking, have one out here.
Sounds like you're in
So,
I can,
but there's no need for having both.
So I don't know, I maybe that one's conference calls, 1 end of the building to another if necessary.
I don't know about that.
You just call it.
I think it's higher. All right, so I'll reach out to what's names and see if we can put 1 in each room or see what the preference is. I'll let the people who spend the most time in the office make the final decision. I thought it was like getting it down.
Well, unless you have a big objection.
It's just big. This is
Okay, we get to 4.
That's a good point.
all right, we're going to move on to the next item, which is IRA status. All right, back on September 1st, when we had made a commitment to Mark to have a pay increase and to vacation time and to have up to 5% to match to his contributions. We've been having a problem since we don't have any full-time employees. We really aren't capable as a town of Brookline to set up through the state pension system this plan. What Melissa suggested, she says, she thinks that Mark would have to set up his own IRA, and the town could then contribute a percentage of his pay, which we could incorporate into the paycheck. Are we going to make it so he gets the funds immediately, or does he have to stay with the town for a predetermined amount of time? Are we going to do this contribution once a year? Like, for instance, we could do this contribution. If Mark sets up an IRA between now and September 1st and determines what 5% of his income is, we could match that before September 1st, and you would have the IRA started. And then once a year we could do this, or do you want to do it every month, every paycheck?
Throw a lot out.
I know.
Let's start from the beginning. We worked on this last fall. I went up to they call it Salcedo 2 now. And I ran into a lot of complications with this thing. That's what you do business with. And then after that, I said, well, we can't do that. We got to go through people's bank because if we're directly related to you, have to do it through people's bank. There I kind of lost contact with the whole Now, basically what you're saying is to start the whole process over and start with Mark's bank. And I don't think I'm in the position to tell Mark to switch banks.
There's not a switch banks.
Okay, just a moment, because when you're talking about making a contribution to his paycheck of 5% of his income.
To an account.
To an account.
To an account.
To an account.
Every page.
Every paycheck.
But
He
we
has
would
to
have
match
no control over making sure he matches it.
it.
So I don't know, we really need to sit down and there's nothing in writing, it's all verbal.
Or we'll deal with Mark. It's easy peasy. Mark, we'll work it out.
We have to work it out, we haven't figured it out yet.
No, we haven't. It's been going from one person to the next person. All I can do is pitch it. But anyway, I'm not going to be a hero here. I'm just saying,
I
I'm
can see
sure
that
Melissa.
once a year, maybe, you know, at the end of the year, this is fine.
And he owes an interest.
That's right, that's right.
And
And if it's in the proper vehicle, you don't know what kind of vehicle it's going to be.
Yeah.
The simple savings account, it almost doesn't, well, it does make a difference because there's interest that's little as it's going to be paid. But anyone that I've been involved in, many of the people that have been involved with that pay retirement program, where I have also, it's been made every week to me.
Yeah.
So you get the benefit of if it's mutual funds, the person handling it can invest in those stocks or investments that drop that allow for greater volume of numbers of stocks, so that when things go up, you get that double increase. The fact that you bought low now getting high and you're getting income return on it. So so I would, my personal opinion, if I were Mark, I'd want it done every year.
Yes.
So secondly, I seem to recall that somewhere, either in minutes of our discussion about the raise, there was no question that the county was going to contribute to an IRA account, whether or not Mark decided to do that at any given time. So it's something that I think we need to do. It's gone on far longer than it should. And I'm not sure what complications we're creating from a tax standpoint by delaying it. You know, we were in the last fiscal year and had agreed to do this, and it's not done. And so we need to do it as quickly as possible, whatever means that requires, period. That's my personal view. I'm sitting here, we're hearing things we talked about last year. We've gone over it 2 or 3 times already. We just need to do it. We put in some things in mind. Gotta be.
So basically, what it would, the other thing was, since she said we could also look at it to be a bonus, as in that we wanted to go to higher. So we had to fit as a bonus. So someone's got to work with Mark, get him set up in an IRA, and then a town would make a 5% contribution, increase his salary by 5%, and he put it into the IRA. I don't know how.
See, initially,
then we need to go back and review what phraseology we use, whether we indicated we're giving Mark total control over the IRA, or whether we're simply giving him a raise equivalent to an IRA. So we're not giving him an IRA.
We said we were giving him an IRA.
That's what I thought. So we're required, unless we're going to rescind the vote and vote something else, to create an IRA.
We
and
can't do it.
Touch it.
And we can't do it, and he can touch it.
And he
With
can't touch it.
penalty. He can touch it.
That's right.
With
That's
penalty.
right. It's a standard IRA. But I suspect because it's through an employer,
You know, he's not full time. We have no employees full time.
So-
Leavers,
so that's been verified.
yes, they will not handle that.
So we don't need to be involved in sending it out at all.
Melissa does need to know what we are going to do. Mark needs to set up an IRA and then Ms.
What
It's not that
can
simple.
I do to expedite this?
Well,
Because I brought it up a couple of times. Yeah.
When I first started this last fall, the problem with 802 was when we started doing separate, they had to have it separate to Mark's account and an IRA. And then there was a problem with we couldn't go and send money to his account because we don't deal with 802.
Yeah, well, 802 is out of the question. We're only concerned with people.
But that's his financial institution.
Well,
Well,
we're
it's-
going to do an IRA.
Was that-
Another company with the bank. Do you mind changing, having a separate?
You don't need to change all your accounts.
Just the one.
Just the one, yeah, okay, we just have to find some, financial institution that will handle it.
Yeah, and we already got a good relationship with a company who is well respected. They have gone through, they're now, I think they'll be called NT. They were bought out by a local company. And I have a retirement, yes, I have a retirement with People's because I worked for one of the banks years ago that they bought. And I can tell you that they're on top of it. I had a very good return.
Okay.
I feel completely comfortable saying, Mark, you're not gonna go wrong unless somebody else on the line.
So it's not such a bad idea. What Guy was saying was develop with Peoples, even though it's coincidental that we do business with Peoples, then we should all work well in that direction.
Well, not only that, but we're already playing on the computer with everything else.
Yeah.
I have a suspicion. It's just a matter of we and the bank checking another box that says, oh, and this amount goes over here.
And Melissa says she will be glad to work with making sure that the paychecks and some of it.
One last small point, it's probably gonna work better to have a bank with than a credit. Yes.
Well, yes. Well, I don't want to say that, but in
Well,
light
that
of
was the
recent,
assumption I was getting
in
about
light
it.
of recent events, I'd say yes.
So we'll do that.
What are we doing?
We're gonna set, I assume we're gonna set up an IRA
How?
with People's Bank.
Who does this?
People's Bank.
Mark has to go. I don't understand who, Melissa and Mark, I don't understand.
Unless you've got something in writing from the bank that says, we're only gonna deal with this person with this item or the customer himself. I think one of us ought to ask, who do we have to send in?
All right, so I'm gonna check back with Melissa on this.
Okay.
I mean, she needs to definitely be involved, but in light of everything else that's happened in that poor individual's life, I have no problem giving the bank a call and saying, this is what we want to do, this is what we promised. What do we have to do to make sure it happens? Do we have to deal with you? Does the treasurer have to deal with you? Or does market? Or both?
Because if you wanted to, Melissa, she has the connections. She knows who and what, where, and how to the People's Bank. So if you wanted to, I can call Melissa and say that,
Whatever, how are we doing?
let me call Melissa and I'll
So,
follow up through email.
Does new thing let's do business with you.
Yes.
Okay. That makes it easy.
All right, let me follow up with Melissa.
Mark,
We want to have this before the year anniversary, and then we'll go monthly starting September. Or, you know,
Mark, you okay?
Yeah.
There's another concept involved there. The money is because he is an employee who's working hard every day, of every week, of every month. And it's so much nicer to be able to say that we're not holding anything back anymore. Whatever we promise him, it's there every paycheck. And
Yes.
that concept in and of itself, it helps cement relationships and mutual respect.
and I do think we need to, at some point, put something in writing. And I do think this summer, I would like to look at the evaluation procedure, which we haven't done in any appointed people here now. I know it's more work, but we have
We're good at that.
no evaluation procedures.
No.
And we'll ask for that.
Great at that.
All right,
Okay.
Iris,
I'm listening.
next item on here, so we'll follow up with Melissa and I'll share with you what she says. Status for steeple painting, yay, next week, Wednesday, he's going to be coming down to paint. I spoke to him, he's in Washington State, finishing up a government job up there. He was in Texas before. He apologized for being not as communicative as I needed him to be, but he's definitely coming. He has the 60-foot lift. It will be delivered here. I talked to him about the Kerry Warren asked if there's a place that he could not reach or saw at whatever. Kerry Warren asked if there's a repair that he can make using the guy's list. And he said, fine, no problem. I'll connect with you today. We'll be starting next Wednesday morning. Then box will fill that shirt's
Was there? Is there what I don't remember, let's say, what ink you were saying you used in what company?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I can have a question. What is it that needs to be repaired and
A bat, a hole that can be used by bats.
Good, thank you. we still want to consider.
And Greg Glenn said, I could use Bondo and close up any hole, however, if the carpenter who did it initially would like to do it himself.
But we're still, not for now, review down the road about the ceiling of the building in the back of the bank.
All right, so Steve will pay. Next one, status for around schoolhouse window repair. It has been repaired. It was repaired last week, and I don't think the bill is in yet, but I'll check the board.
Yeah, because well,
We need to be I looked at the other day.
I looked at Betty on the side.
Yeah, I'm sure that the quality of it, so it's like.
I was like, she wants the whole window.
Yeah, it looks really nice. She did a good job. I guess another question I have is this person gonna be subject to the same requirements for all the other things? Non-employee, insurance binder.
Warrant, it's not,
It's a minor amount.
it was a minor, it's not over $1,000. So not a problem.
Good, thank you.
All right, status for securing the generator at town hall. Now, Mark, that's your question. The generator, securing the generator. We brought that up at last meeting. We wanted anything.
Nothing's been done since the last meeting.
Right, so it's still chained out here
Yes,
to the rail.
yes, but, we stand did have, we talked with the plan. Like I said,
Yeah, well, yeah, and we're like really willing and ready to help whatever you think is best. Whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, I've got, like I said, I've got everything finished. Just need to take care of that. I've been using some Saturdays, going for the like little jobs, and this past Saturday, my mom had a test.
Oh, no.
Sorry, your mom did?
So I spent the last 4 days there.
Sure.
I'm not using that as an excuse, I'm just saying that fill in some things.
I'm sorry, but the sound has just gone really bad.
Mark was just explaining that his some personal concerns about getting all of his hours in, but it's okay. There was discussion.
There was muted discussion. It is really difficult to hear syllables. If you want to speak slowly and clearly, I think.
Okay.
All right. Mike's over there.
If I put that on a chair, back of the chair or something, disconnected, it can be disconnected from the camera.
No, it's got a very small cord that attaches to the mic to the camera, so you can't move the mic. It's not wireless.
Okay.
That's the problem. I can move the camera closer, then I won't be able to see anymore.
Thank you. Yep.
I'd rather hear them than see them.
All right, well, just if you need anything repeated, we'll be glad to repeat.
I'll try.
All right, so that's on hold right now, and for understandable reasons. The status of heat pump contract. That's all in.
I sent it in via email to the Mr. Hart. Within 24 hours, he had it back. It took a couple of days longer to get the insurance certificate. I have those documents, the signature pages, and his insurance certificate with me tonight. So before I go home, they'll be filed in the folder here that I've got going for his contract. So we'll have all the documentation. There's only one caveat that I'll add to that. When I reviewed the VLCT documents, they're referred to an LLC as being a type of corporation. When I looked at to formally acknowledge and accept the W-9 form, it turns out there is such a thing as a one-member LLC, and it's the owner. So I may have to ask him to sign the non-employee document I've got to look at the contract to see if it's covered in there already. If not, whatever of one of two potential documents he might have to sign, if they're not addressed within the contract, I will take care of it tomorrow so that we have them back hopefully by the close of business Friday or early next week. For all practical purposes right now, we've got everything we need short of my following up on those two documents. He's ready to go, and I believe he's on the accounts payable list for us to to send the check.
Yeah. All right, very good. Last, under the old business, the status of the Brookline Meeting House store windows. Brookline Meeting House contracted with the local Townsend company who subcontracted out to get those store windows, so they can't provide it for us. We've asked by phone calls for it, and it's checks in the mail, but it hasn't come. So I'm writing a letter from the select board to the Continental Screen Company, demanding that it possibly return as soon as possible. Otherwise, legal action will be taken.
They've been asked before.
Leanne, but yes, she called me like a message and we called. Check the email tomorrow. It's not in 10 days.
Okay, I'm missing a good deal of information there.
Okay, the Brookline Meeting House storm window deposit has not been refunded to the town, and Dorothy Maggio is going to write a letter to the Continental Screen Company demanding the refund of the deposit since work was not done.
Got it, thanks.
All right. All right, next item here is reports and updates. Road supervisor report, EMAR bills, field excavator, project list, agency of natural resources you were going to talk about, and then I have some things about FEMA. And I sent you a text message that Dan from Alta has the mower on, and give him a call tomorrow.
I did catch that.
Okay.
I called for him to able to connect with him, and they just received the mowing attachment at their company. They were gonna go through it, make sure it's all in good working order, and then contact you next week to make an appointment to come in.
You'll be using it for a week.
I'm thinking a week will be a good.
And when's the last day that you have to leave next week?
On the 8th of July, and it was a 6-week rent.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 19.
August 19th.
Okay.
I'm going to show you something, Mark. This is the right, this is, but I don't know if that's 4 weeks or 6, I don't, how much is it a week?
It was 60, it's like 6,200. Oh, a week, oh. That's for a month.
So it's a month, that's 4 weeks. 28-day free. So it's not, this is not a 6-week rental on this.
I saw one for 11,000. Is there another?
Yeah, there is. There was one for
I don't
more
have.
updated ones. I think it's
Judy asked, and Judy wrote to me today and said that she sent me the same one that I had, and I didn't see any increase on it. And so that's my question.
No, this somehow, I think, I know the one Mark is talking about, it has a different format than this, I think. I would like to print that out at home tonight and send it along to everybody else, including Mark. The total on that one, as Mark said, it was somewhere close between $11,000 and $12,000. It's missing 3,000. And I have a sense it might be the other 2 weeks.
Well, that's what I didn't want us to think we're getting it for 6, that they're gonna take it back after 4.
Yeah.
So I wanna make sure we have it for 6. And I wanna make sure that we know the cost for the mowing arm that we're gonna use too. I don't know what that cost is.
Do you remember? I want to say 1,500. It's 1,000 to deliver, 1,500 is 25, and then 6 weeks, I think, is somewhere in the 8,000 to 9,000 category. That all tallied up over 11,000.
That makes better sense because this looks like it was just 28 days or something here.
Yeah,
But not worried.
it's all looking that I can't say without seeing it. I know it looked more like filling with a little over 11,000.
If you could send that, if you do have it, you can send it back. That would be great because this way I can reply to Judy. She said something about the amount of the bill was more than what we had noted, but she sent me the same $8,100 invoice, so I was confused. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So with that, the machine is working great. There's a new sales representative that showed up to, they usually send in person to refresh, show you how to operate all functions. Very nice guy. And as soon as he was done, I went to using it. And, accomplished quite a bit of stuff. I've been working on cleaning folders that very much needed cleaning. Making runouts that silted in, removing dead trees from roadsides. I also started to clean ditches and then doing some stone lines to meet our segment requirements. I feel like I've already made good enough progress there. I've done work on Brookline Mountain, First Road, Parker Road, Whitensville, Athens. Let's stand there. So with that being said, this is a used machine. Just to get you familiar with it. It's on the tag. I looked at the 2017 model, and it's had 2,060 hours on it when we received it. And everything looks very clean. There's just a little bit of sheet metal damage on one little section, and the tires are probably the original tires. They do have some wear, but it does have 2,000 hours on it. So normal wear. And other than that, I can find nothing wrong with everything functions like it's supposed to.
They insured it for $201,000.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. And I'm not sure if that's the insurance replacement cost.
Replacement cost, yeah.
So on that note, I'll start with, I also received I'm not sure if that was an email or text from the shop from Rick Roy. The water issue, Putney Mountain up at the Mrs. Reagan address, or Putney Mountain, I'm not sure the number.
Right, I think it was 105 Putney Mountain Road, water. He asked that we address water runoff into her property. She's had a state.
Yeah, you know, ever since I have been the road person in town, I guess years ago, Courtney and I used to go up there, and they had the same issue way back then. The water shoots down the pavement, looking for a place to get off the pavement, and the first driveway is the Mrs. Reagan address. And so over time, erosion from heavy rains, probably some from what we had last year. I remember personally going back up the mountain and applying some road builder, it's coarse gravel along the shoulders to because it undermined the pavement. So knowing that I put that there, the water, there were certain runout areas that the water could leave, and they had filled in with probably road sand and other. So I went noticing that I corrected the places where the water could leave the road, made several water runouts north of the hill of Mrs. Brady's. Then I pulled the loose gravel material that was loaded on the property back to the edge of the road, smoothed it all up. And I'll monitor it to see if it's working. I feel that if what I did doesn't correct the problem, that we can apply a small load of gravel right near where the water was leaving, fill that section up so that it bypassed the third area onto it. So there's a drive stage.
I guess he just monitors and checks. Yes.
Is this the same whole way as the gentleman we were talking about?
Yes, he requested that we ask Mark to check this home for the one who doesn't live there.
I know that Rick was friends with Mrs. Reagan for years. Very regular, and I know he owns property behind all the way around. So did you get the calls?
That's it. Thanks for addressing that so quickly.
Yeah, I took the machine and went up Bucking Mountain after watching the weather and noticed that there was heavy rains predicted, so I made sure all the runouts were working.
Right.
Corrected those on Bucking Mountain to the top, and also did some ditch cleaning and public cleanings while I was there. We have changed out the recycle bin a couple of times, and I've noticed that it's by the weekend it's keeping full and waiting outside. Somebody put a sign up.
Yeah, it's probably.
Okay. So the last two times I called, a lot of times if you call right at 7, they will exchange the same day. And some days, I guess, when they're busy, it's the following day. So I was watching it. I want to get it to a Thursday exchange because that way it'll be
Through the weekend.
Yeah, it'll last better through the weekend. So
We had this problem last year.
Yeah. So I did call this morning. I noticed tonight we still hadn't exchanged, so I'm
Tomorrow.
expecting tomorrow to be there. And then we'll try to keep it at Thursday.
Well, I had seen how
No.
I had seen how much junk was left out on the July, the last select board meeting, July 6th.
Yeah.
It was you were out there cleaning it up,
Yeah.
so I went by. I knew there was another wedding in town. I went by. I actually put a sign. I said, please.
I appreciate that.
So, yeah, come back 36 hours and
During the heart of the summer, you're not gonna get a weekend. You can ask Guy, but I think they'll tell you how we're doing. I appreciate what you're doing, because that works good if you do it that way, but getting it from Monday to Thursday is gonna be an issue.
Right. Yeah.
Well, tomorrow will be Thursday, be fresh, so.
Right. Yeah, well, what I was saying to Mark, Guy had the same issue last year that he wasn't making it. He had to.
Oh,
He had to
right.
replace it. So at a certain
Remember,
point,
we also had two
No, that's-
days there for a while, or a while ago.
yeah, I'm talking about last year, because I remember him having to shortcut, so it's, which I appreciate what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
It
Well,
makes it predictable for me, because I'm not when it's not done.
Yeah,
But
well, I noticed
until September, I don't think it's gonna work.
the latest news, and put an article about Brookline recycling, explaining that recycling business and hopefully that doesn't attract other towns because we're the only town left that's doing the recycling.
Yeah, that's not
But yeah, the reason I had asked about cameras, week to week we get household rubbish thrown piled up at. Last week there was a couple gallons of cocaine. Oh gosh, it's pretty stuff that people know doesn't belong there. There's a place to get rid of it. So I didn't know if the camera would make me sure.
I don't know if it will deter, like, I know it will give us evidence for prosecution at the town lot if something is damaged, stolen, vandalized, trespassed on. But at the recycling,
Yeah, I know it's gonna take a lot.
it's gonna, yeah,
So,
that might be difficult.
right. Okay, so I also have, knowing that we're not haven't mowed yet, I took a couple of half days to use a weed whacker, which I converted to a sickle guard mower to mow under guardrails in places that are much needed. The sickle guard mower is like a hedge trimmer that goes on the end of the weed whacker, and it doesn't throw the debris at you, so poison ivy. It's less apt to get all over.
Is there an issue?
Yeah, that guy.
Um,
Can't hear very well. And this cable shakes out all the net tape. I'm wondering if you just set it on the tape.
But I told Archie I was having a tough time contacting Scott Jensen from the Agency of Natural Resources, and he had the guy's personal cell phone number. He contacted him,
That looks like I couldn't possibly
and
reach.
Scott was just leaving.
No, that looks like it should probably reach.
For us to meet tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, Friday morning at 9 o'clock, we're going to visit the sites that are in question for psychedelic studies and permits to complete flood damaged areas. So,
Yeah, and you can also tell them that I did request from FEMA, and they were very happy to give it to us, not yet, the scope and cost estimate that's left over.
Yeah.
Because that's what they think it's gonna cost to repair, that's, they're gonna be able to tell us how much material to put out or for that, so.
okay,
That would not, yeah.
that would be great to see. I'm waiting to see it because I also talking with Archie, he was going to go out one evening. We were out from 5 till dark, going around and measuring some of the areas that need to be stone lined on Putney Mountain. He was estimating the volumes so we can compare what FEMA has estimated as well as Archie's expertise on that. We also looked at some of the other jobs that needed material on Holland Hill. An unfinished flood repair project was there needs to be like another 6-inch gravel application to the other end of Bennett Road where the culvert washed out. When we measured it was like 750 feet roughly of gravel that needs to be applied for that repaired section. So we have that. I'm not sure if FEMA has the same measurement.
I'm gonna write something here, I'll write to that tomorrow.
Was also going to go there with A&R. One of the representatives inspectors from FEMA mentioned that the culvert that got pushed out of its site during the flood up there in Holland Hill, he felt is undersized. And I guess they measured the brook bed where the actual water keeps it. No weed growing. And by doing that, he felt that culvert was undersized, that it should need a hydraulic study to determine the upgraded size culvert. So this Scott Jensen also does hydraulic study. State Texas. So rather than we wait 6 months to get it, he can run one right to the culvert. So we're going to take them to these areas who are getting.
Did you charge for that? It's a part of the service that you provide?
I'm thinking because it's through the state, I believe there's going to be a fee. I think it's just what it does. Take that. Ask that question.
I just don't want to be assuming that without asking because
Yeah. Well,
any of us to be surprised down the road.
yeah, no, I know he came and looked at when I was the road commissioner, we had him come in and give us an overview, and he gave us a permit and okay to clean out the brook on First Road. So it's not been danger flooding the road, causing a lucky entrance to First Road. And I never recall hearing things there. So then over the rail mower will possibly be next week. We also, we had mentioned that FEMA would like to see the remaining flood repair stuff go out in contact. So Archie was gonna take the areas we went to, measurements, and help grade up an RFP if needed. So that's why I requested seeing what FEMA's inspectors that
That's the point of the report. Yes.
Yeah, so that we can put those two together. And then, speaking of that, I had kind of an ongoing list of things I wanted to accomplish with the Rented excavator. And a lot of that kind of blends in with some of the repairs. So I'm not sure, I guess, to hold off on, like, our side of Phoenix Road that is completely untravelable. Should I wait? I know that there was talk of possibly getting a small amount of funds from FEMA maybe to fix that. And I kind of wanted to see that report because the same guy that seemed to be the senior advisor to with all these recommendations, he had given a lot of input on how to fix that.
When I write to Mel or call him tomorrow, I'll remind him that we have a 6-week rental that would only have for 6 weeks to do these repairs.
Yeah.
And to get us the report back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have several culverts that are included with the flood damage. So those several culverts are all 18-inch diameter, which I am planning to install the rest of the time left with the rental excavator. the 3-foot diameter culvert that we purchased for Putney Mountain will be in question until 8 or 8 weeks. That area. You'll see that as a flood repair thing that needs to get. I also, as one planned project for this summer would be the project on Hill Road, this side of the main tower line, the crosses, like Coleman's.
Yeah, Coleman's area, we stopped that last year.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, and maybe Standard has some input there, how we should go about that. We run that through on the grant, we put that out to the bid. Marks with your hydraulic hammer that chisels the wedge. Put it off until this year.
I'm not getting a lot of I'm not getting a lot of intelligible sound.
Move the microphone. Yeah. Let's try that. We move the microphone closer to our table here, so let's see how that helps.
How does that sound?
Well, it sounds like technically there's a compression thing in the system which is clipping off the lower volume sounds. So it's like you get all the high sounds, but the lower sounds disappear. Which means it means, you know, you can hear people's vowels mostly, sort of.
I don't know if it's the air conditioner, I think it's yeah.
So to finish the project on Hill Road, I had gotten an estimate for the completion of the project in that area for ditching and drainage. And it was under purchase policy at the time, but we had waited due to lack of funding. The project is still in need of finishing. We possibly have grant money coming to help assist the area if we use it there. I talked with Archie, and he said that they still have interest in completing the work, and knowing what the purchase policy is for Brookline, he told me that they can still do it.
Well, it just cut off.
Josh, are you disconnecting and connecting things over there?
Yeah, I think
I'm wondering.
I had an idea of how to fix the mic, but you're so close to the end of the meeting, I'm just gonna leave it.
Mark was doing great there when the mic went off completely.
Are you hearing us now, just talking now?
Yeah, but I mean, that's because people are speaking clearly too. Mark, you have a future on the stage.
Thank you. Okay, so that was a question that I wanted to ask. Was how do we go about completing the Hill Road project?
Is there a grant? Did you say that we can apply for? That's that.
Could like it whenever.
Yeah, I'd be glad to have Stan.
We have a grants in a contract that is going to give it down $6,700. Any project that we do, obviously, above an amount that's adds another 20% to that, we got well, I guess the easiest way for me to say is we got $6,700 that we can get from the state through that grant to do a project. Now, when we went around with Jeff Nugent from Wyndham Regional, I somehow had the impression that that particular project on Hill Road was earmarked for that $6,700. The quote a year ago, I think, was 58 or 59. So we can build into that a little more in terms of gas costs, and it may be about what we need, but whatever we do, if it's less than that 6790, obviously we don't get the 6,700, and of course we are obligated to pay 20% of whatever it costs. So I am glad we're having this conversation, because I've been wondering the last couple of weeks with that piece of equipment coming, just what project on the number of things that we needed to do that we should apply this $6,700. And so I think just the concept of it, the money is available. If we don't complete the project by the 30th of September, we lose the $6,700 grant. So somehow between now and September 30th, we need to decide which project, do an RFP, and assuming that something comes in that's reasonable, figure what our share is above the $6,700 that we need to kick in to make it happen. And I haven't had any conversations with either you or Archie to decide what it is, or the select board, what it is that we want to do for a project to use that money. So now's an opportune time, because if we're going to put an RFP out, there's 2 to 3 weeks, and we're that much closer to the using up the rest of this month and the early part of August, which only gives us about 45 days or a little longer to get the project going and done. So it's something that needs to happen soon. The bottom line is, I don't think I'm in a position to make that decision. I would much rather have a consensus of all the players in that to decide where to go. So the question, I guess, becomes, based on, I'm sitting here thinking out loud, is of the people who are familiar with past projects and costs, what on the list of things that we need to do for V-Trans and Wyndham Regional can we accomplish with that money without an exorbitant amount of additional cost by the town? And at this point, I don't have an answer. I don't know what other projects Mark and or Archie or anyone else has in mind to know where this project on Hill Road fits. So I don't know if we'll.
It's not me.
You're still
Peter over there.
there, Peter?
Yeah, I'm not playing the piano.
We have a problem. All of a sudden music started playing.
You do.
That's unique.
It's like the connection's been cut. So back to system settings. Can you turn the volume down on this?
I killed myself. He was good. He played piano like a president. Just like playing job.
Right.
1 second, I gotta put it back.
I think it's going to happen here. Thank you. So in any event, it needs some coordination and discussion. I don't have a simple answer.
Right, Peter.
Thank you, John.
I do have to say this, I know you said, Mark, that it's below the $7,500 RFP requirements. However, if you're below that, between $1,000 and $74.99, you need to have 2 or 3 written bids. from people. Whereas if you put an RFP out and only one person bids on it, we can accept that. But if you don't have 2 or 3 written invitational bids, then we're sort of twiddling our thumbs waiting. So it might be a good idea if you're saying that Archie and you both feel that that project would be a good project for that grant money.
I personally thought it was good because we, after meeting with Jeff Nugent, we realized at that point that it was hydraulically connected, so therefore it fit the grant.
Okay. So do you think Archie can provide some RFP language to me so I can get something out and show the select board in the next meeting and then put it in the newspaper and then have a contract ready to go after that?
I'll throw that out there.
It got to call me, have to call me.
Okay.
That's not
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question. You did. Okay.
All right, so that would be good to get that buttoned up.
Yeah, and then, you know, the other jobs in question are the FEMA repairs, so the replacement of 3-foot diameter shoulders, which we know on Friday, whether that's no, and then the Holland Hill Lane project, there's the replacement over there. So there's a handful of projects that, if I knew more, I could go to some of these things, like the ditching, the cutting down. That's all stuff I can do, but if you know, FEMA wants to put out, we need to
I'll try to get those answers to you in the next 50 hours.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
A question, in light of the events that are affecting Mark, the personal items that are developing, is there an individual that has worked in conjunction with you in the past that might be able to use the equipment if things get worse in that situation and requires more time? I mean, it sounds like you've got a lot of things coming down on you right now. And me as an individual, putting myself in your place, it sure is nice to know that there's a relief valve somewhere.
Yeah.
And I wonder what your thoughts and feelings are about that, or anyone else.
No, I don't have anybody in particular in my immediate thought, but I will try to come up with something for that idea. That's a great idea to have. Yeah, just put it that far ahead. I feel like I'm over the hurdle that. Yeah, that's a good thing to have.
Yeah, I had to say that. I think probably it's been in other people's minds too. And I know you're going to give it your best shot no matter what. So, but be that here nor there, there are things that often in our life take precedent over what we really would like to do or can do. Okay. And I just would feel remiss if I didn't address that and say, I think that we should look at someone else on a temporary basis if need be to help out on something.
You might need this for the other project, and now we're talking about that. Talking about it before.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that here.
Okay. Yeah, I will.
Okay. Thank you.
No, I believe that makes everything.
All right, I just left here, if you have any questions, these are documents that I had to send to FEMA in before I signed off on those bids, and they're all together in a binder. So you can move down to, I was in grants, Stan. I did want to show you that I printed off a Vermont grants and aids invoicing spreadsheet. I saw that with the links that I was, emails I got. I don't know if that's something that would be
Oh, yes, it would be very helpful.
Getting on here.
People think I'm worried if I turn the other side around.
Is this on a particular website?
It was a link to one of those, you know, I get these ads from AOT and this and that and the other, and I started looking through some and I said, oh, this looks good, no, we can have that.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Wow, all right. I would, that's very helpful. Appreciate your consideration. Other than that, other than what we just talked about, I don't have anything to add. I had to go up to, I guess I will say this, I had to go to Bellows Falls this morning, so I noted that, you know, the ditching out the silt and so forth and putting in the stones is going on. I noticed that on Putnam Road, it all looked like, you know, it looked great. Everything's happening like we would like it to. And regarding grants, I would offer this last thought before I be quiet, is that we did get a bill on the 10th, I believe, of this month for the last quarter of the servicing done by Wyndham Regional's Margot Dia on the stand and salt shed. And it covered activities from April 1st to June 30th. It's an amount that, let's see here, it's $449.89. I did peruse it, I did look at it. I looked at her summary of her activity, all things in order. I don't find a problem with it. I would like to just say this very last thing is that they seem to be on an odd odd physical year at Wyndham Regional, either that or V-Trans is. And it starts, their physical year seems to start on October 1st. So October to December is quarter one. They got us, they built this last one as a quarter three because of that. So it doesn't line up with anything. It doesn't line up with our fiscal year. It doesn't line up with an annual year. It is confusing, and if any one of you should ever have a glimpse at this, that's the rationale for it. That having been said, we're all okay.
Anything else?
Nope, nothing further I have there.
Something from Guy. I'll just do briefly health officer work. I put it in the agenda. I don't need to read it. There's 3 health officer projects that are going on and or have gone on. One's closed. One that was with the buttons and one's dental, and the other is a geocamp. Next we'll go on to town building commissioner.
All right. First off, I received a rather nice cordial email from Gwen last weekend. Nice to build up on the radiator. I don't know how much.
Oh yeah, I saw your emails with that. Yeah.
So to really cut the shoes really quick, what I did was I came over here and pulled the radiator apart in the bathroom, and she had a file. So I took their back in the downstairs with the radiator, cleaned it all up. Make a long story short, I reset all the mic straps with fresh paint, and it's tabled till the end of the summer until Mark and I can get to it when it's appropriate. We have the time to do it. But the problem is not, I told Gwen, she said the problem can solve. I said, okay, we'll wait and see. The problem is not been solved. We'll see. It's in good shape, but it's not been completely taken. We'll look at that. Okay, a question I have. We talked about a cleaning schedule for a year and maybe hitting around the schoolhouse again. It was Gwen that brought that up about. I think we're under a cleaning schedule every once in a while to have.
Every other month, it's stuff. I don't know.
Okay. Who contacted me?
Well, I mean, I set it up originally, but
Just stop.
it just stopped. And then I asked, yeah, just stop. We haven't done anything.
Do we need more?
Yeah, he's the guy that was new work fire department.
Oh, you have to speak a little louder.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to contact the cleaning company.
Okay. And maybe do a quick job on the wrong schoolhouse. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
I pursued getting a quote from Scott Bovash. I don't know about a hot water heat pump, and he came up with $3,388. What was with that site? That's a lot of money.
How much? 38?
$33.88. Installed, remove the old tank, put in a hot water heat pump at the Susans. We'll see. We have some other things we need to spend money on. First, we need to tighten down what the cost is on the electric for the heat pumps, heat air conditioning pumps that are going in. And I just want to see some number before I ask you to commit to that number. Last week, I was doing an analysis of the kilowatt hour usage of the building. In fact, the scan was privy to that. And the next, after we spoke scan, I went into Susan's the next morning to, I wanted to take a look at the air handlers because I think I had a good idea of finding out what the excessive consumption was from 4 p.m. in the afternoon to 8 a.m. in the morning, which is 56% of the consumption for the entire day for kilowatt hours, or not. So I went in the building, and the one person there was Scott, was Tom, which is Aaron's husband, and he said that they had an issue with the toilet down the basement. This has happened before, 3 years or so ago, where Mark Slim's Rain had to come in and fix it, and he warned me that if the pump ever had to be replaced, there was going to be probably $1,000. Anyway, when I went downstairs, after I had the discussion with Todd, I went downstairs to look at it, and he told me what he did. So I looked at it, I was like, well, my country, I don't think this is exactly 3 points. This is what I could do. So, but I was under the feeling there was not a clog, there was nothing to do with it, which worried me because I thought, oh, pumps. That pump, where everything in the basement goes to, pumps up to the septic system. So I looked at it and I said, well, I'm going to go there, something to do it. And then at that point, went down to Bradford, did my work after home, and then I got a call from Vermont Sewer and Drain. Evidently, Stephanie had gone ahead and called Vermont Sewer and Drain, didn't tell me she was doing it. He was telling me he had already come, and now we have a $260 bill for his visit. And so I had a discussion with whom I dealt with before 3 years ago about the entire situation that was going on that was causing it. But it turns out what happens is there's a relay, a box with a relay as you go into the storage room on the left side. It's down about 15 feet or so. And he was explaining to me there was some arcing going on, some wires had melted. So basically he had fixed it through the breakers, fixed it, put up, but he said it's going to have to be replaced. And he can't do it. It has to be done by an electrician. This all happened in the confines of Friday afternoon. So I got off the phone with him, and I called Emmett Larson, and he called me right back. He happened to be in hiatus for the weekend up in Maine. He called me back, and we talked about it. And he's looking into it. I got new information he needs off the box in order for him to come in and straighten out something like this. So the good news is that in that respect, we're not going to have to replace the pump. It's going to be well less than what. And that guy from Brookline said to me that if we had replaced the pump, not $1,000, it's getting a little expensive. I don't know. So basically, what's occurring right now is Emmett Larson's going to come back when he gets ready. He said Wednesday, we touch base with him and see where he's at, and he's going to come in and fix it. And then I spoke to Stephanie about it, person to person. But when we all was on the phone, I'm sorry, it was on the phone, and she said that they had we all had power outage last week, and she evidently had a series of jokes. That's bad for electricity, for electric.
Yeah, we did it at my house too.
I didn't have it that way.
Yeah.
It was just off and on.
Sorry, but this is extraordinarily difficult to follow. I think you ought to cut to the chase because I can't understand half of it.
Okay, just say that we had a problem with the lower toilet in Susie's, and that's being fixed by an electrician. How's that?
Thanks.
So that's being handled. Then I had an issue when I was there, which was really unpleasant, and I emailed Stephanie about it, and got into a little spat about it, but we straightened it out. And basically, what occurred was they've been trashing the place, and
now you're saying it on the records.
so what? It's the truth. I almost got hurt walking into the steerable because there was crap all over the place. I was stripping fell again, which I didn't want to repeat what happened in May, which I'm still dealing with remains right now. That's already been
There was a disagreement, and it's not fixed.
it's been fixed. We have a plan going forward. I had to straighten it out. So that's all I really want to say. To move on a little further, at a point early on when we were thinking about doing panels, the person that came down had a guy and looked at it, sighted the panels, and noticed that the one pine tree that was behind the dumpster is dead and it's pointed right at the building. I don't know if I mentioned this before on one of our meetings, but Mark and I talked about it a little bit. I was kind of hoping that he'd have a day with his real excavator that we could get these trees cut out that are dead right behind that dumpster, especially the one that's pointing towards the building, but also because it was in the way of siding any panels. There's also a a cherry tree that's out there that's rather substantial. Mark and I have talked about that we might be able to get a few dollars for, like that. So we don't know that. But anyway, that should come down as well. So my point here to Mark is a couple of things. Remember we mentioned about maybe you could use maybe extra help to do that, if you can look into that. And I would like to consider doing this before you get rid of that real excavator. That's why I asked you the date. Part of the spat that I had with Stephanie was stuff that supposedly was left that we didn't pick up. Did you leave any filters or anything out in the gym or anything like that? Because they came back with complaints about stuff that we didn't do.
I brought them in and put them back in the boxes so that they were the last ones that we could use them as things.
Okay. In the boiler room?
Yeah, in the boiler room.
Okay.
Just in the water filters.
Okay, so there's a lot of disagreement about this. I was thinking that it's going to be straightened out person to person. But am I going too quick again, Peter?
He's not taking the detail notes.
Okay.
I'm skimming the tops of everything here. I'm in agony.
Okay, I'm done. That ought to make him happy. I'm done. I am just done.
All right, is there any other reports or discussion from select board members that they would like to bring at this time before we move on to communications? None. Regular mail. There is a request for appropriations from the American Red Cross. Wait, sorry, hold on. Never mind, this is not a request for appropriation, request for statistics. So I'll take care of that. And There's a government finance overview for select boards on Thursday, July 28th from 9 to noon via Zoom. It's $48 from, and I was thinking about it. I'm not sure if I had the time yet, but it's for a Zoom meeting on July 28th. So if anyone is interested in doing that, they can sign up and the town can bill if you have a chance. I gave
Stan, you know, your voices are equally loud on this system. So a whisper sounds like a scream. You know, it's so if two of you are making any noise at all, it's like two people making noise.
I hear you.
It's a terrible system.
Yep.
All right, Alter requests certificate of insurance that was sent in, and that's all I have at this point. So pay orders. I'd like to make a, I'd like to move to approve payroll warrant 2302 dated July 20th, 2022 in the amount of $2,575.72. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stan. Any discussion? Mark, please note that the one item check that you got is the $6 difference that was not paid. That should happen ever again. It was just that one pay period.
Yeah, I haven't seen the paperwork on that, but I know
Taken care of.
that.
All right, all those in favor of approving payroll warrant 2302 for $2,575.72 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes. Let's sign it around the room. Oh, who should sign that one? I'm sorry. This is mine. I should have signed this. Here it is. That's passing out. I'd like to make a motion to approve accounts payable warrant 2303 dated 7/20/22 in the amount of $33,547.73. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? All right, so we are in accounts payable 2303 for $33,547.73. It has been seconded by Stan. There's discussion. Bruce, yes, we've decided we're paying in half, and then if there is a rebate, then gets paid the other half.
I explained that.
I know, but I already can absorb the authority to them. I'm not. Yeah.
Whatever. Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving accounts payable warrant?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Accounts payable warrant 2303 for $33,547.73. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All in favor? Any sign?
Sound is much more intelligible.
That's what we're at. All right, consent agenda regular meeting for August 3rd. 1, RFP for electric. 2, RFP for grant and aid project. 3, RFP winter plow. 4, RFP sand purchase. 5,
We need to approve the hazardous waste policy from Westminster.
I went to, I should have brought that up earlier. I reviewed that hazardous waste. Have you got to, did you look at it? I sent it out on June 15th, of the day of our last meeting. I might have missed it, and it was 8 or 9 pages.
We had it on the agenda last time, but since we hadn't looked at it, we just postponed it till today. So I know that we're going to be pressed for it. I would like to motion that, well, I would like to give Dot authority to approve it based on her reading and understanding of it, because she's familiar with this kind of thing. She's done it in the past, and it looked okay to me as well. So if I can make a motion to approve Dot authorizing or issuing a statement that it's satisfactory to town of Brookline, to Wyndham Regional, who needs the permission. I offer that as a motion.
Okay, seconded by Bruce. All those in favor of authorizing Dot to communicate with Wyndham Regional approving the hazardous mitigation plan that was submitted from Westminster West, signify by saying aye. Aye. I have reviewed it, a very impressive report. It was very, very well done. Okay. All right, any other items we'll see it another time. All right, I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn this evening's meeting. All right, Bruce. Any discussion?
You're gonna draw me out on that one.
Hearing none, all those in favor of returning the meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. The time is 9:13. Thank you.